couldn't even get an answer.
He had it all: fame, fortune, and a reputation as one of hip-hop's most unstoppable forces. But behind the luxury yachts, private jets, and red carpets, there were secrets. And when they finally surfaced, they didn't just damage his image, they detonated it. This is the shocking, untold story of how Sean Diddy Combs went from mogul to inmate. And the truth? It goes deeper than anyone expected. In the 1990s, Sean Combs wasn't just making hits, he was shaping culture. After launching Bad Boy Records, he turned unknown artists into legends. The notorious B.I.G. Mays, Faith Evans. If Diddy touched it, it turned to gold. He didn't stop at music. From fashion with Sean John, to vodka lines, to reality TV, Diddy built an empire. He was the ultimate entrepreneur, blending street hustle with corporate smarts. But his rise wasn't just about business. It was about image. He curated a persona of excess, ambition, and power. And it worked, until that image started to crack. Once the music empire was in motion, Diddy took center stage. Not just in studios, but everywhere the cameras flashed. He wasn't just rich, he was iconic. From front row seats at fashion shows to VIP tables in Ibiza, he turned luxury into a lifestyle. His Miami mansion on Star Island became a symbol of wealth and exclusivity, where celebrities, models, and moguls partied until sunrise. He was a regular at the carnival in Rio de Janeiro, known for showing up in extravagant outfits and drawing more attention than the parade itself. And when Usher celebrated his 26th birthday, guess who was on the guest list? Diddy wasn't just attending the party, he was the party. Jet-setting between continents, throwing million-dollar bashes, dating the biggest names in the industry. His life looked like a dream. But while the world saw champagne showers and flashing lights, it was what they didn't see that would come back to haunt him. Diddy wasn't just about money and music, he knew the power of influence. In 2004, at the height of his fame, he launched one of the most talked-about campaigns of the decade, Vote or Die. With bold shirts, blunt messaging, and relentless media appearances, he rallied young voters like never before. For many, it was the first time hip-hop and politics collided on such a massive scale. Diddy became a voice, not just for the culture, but for a generation that felt ignored. He appeared on talk shows, led marches, and used his platform to challenge the system. Whether you agreed with him or not, one thing was clear: when Diddy spoke, people listened. But even as he called for change in the world outside, behind the scenes, his own world was far from clean. Because while he was demanding accountability from politicians, his name was slowly being whispered in darker conversations. For years, the whispers followed him, quiet enough to ignore, but loud enough to raise eyebrows. And then, in November 2023, the dam broke. Singer Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former longtime partner, filed a chilling lawsuit accusing him of years of abuse, manipulation, and violence. The details were graphic, disturbing enough to dominate headlines across the world. But just as quickly as the lawsuit appeared, it vanished. A settlement was reached in less than 24 hours. No trial, no testimony, just silence and speculation. The speed of the settlement only fueled the fire. What was Diddy hiding? Why shut it down so fast? That lawsuit cracked something open. In the months that followed, more women stepped forward, each with stories that echoed the same chilling themes: control, coercion, fear. Some called it a reckoning. Others said it was long overdue. But no one could deny it anymore. Diddy's legacy was under siege. And this time, the law was watching. By mid-2024, what started as a single lawsuit had morphed into a full-blown legal storm. But the real shock came in September 2024, when federal agents filed formal charges against Diddy. Not just civil accusations, criminal charges. Allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy, terms usually reserved for cartel bosses and kingpins, not chart-topping moguls. According to reports, investigators had quietly been building a case for months. Leaked documents and witness testimonies painted a chilling picture: a network of manipulation, NDAs, surveillance, and silencing tactics. Some even claimed private jets were used to transport women across state lines, a move that triggered federal jurisdiction. Suddenly, this wasn't just about scandal. It was about survival. Diddy's homes were raided. Business ties began unraveling. Endorsements went dark. Even some of his closest allies started distancing themselves. And perhaps most damning, several former employees flipped, offering inside details in exchange for immunity. The empire he built brick by brick, it was collapsing faster than anyone could have imagined. But the worst part wasn't what had happened so far. It was what came next. By early 2025, the man once seen as untouchable found himself in a place no one expected, a concrete cell inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Gone were the designer suits, the luxury cars, the entourage. Now was prison-issued clothing, steel bunk beds, and guards watching his every move. Sources say Diddy struggled to adapt. Accustomed to calling the shots, he was now just inmate hashtag 420135D under 24-hour surveillance in one of the most notorious detention facilities on the East Coast. His legal team filed motions for release, citing unfair targeting and media bias, but judges weren't convinced. The charges were too serious. The evidence, too overwhelming. And while the world waited for a trial, Diddy waited too. Inside a locked cell, stripped of everything but time. Some insiders claim he still believes he'll walk free. Others say the walls are closing in, and fast. Because if convicted on all counts, he could be facing life behind bars. And the empire he once ruled? Now, just a distant memory. As Diddy's world crumbled behind bars, the outside world wrestled with disbelief. This wasn't just another celebrity scandal. This was a reckoning. Once hailed as a visionary, a cultural icon, a symbol of black excellence, Diddy became a cautionary tale. Social media exploded. Some defended him, calling it a witch hunt, a takedown of yet another powerful black man in America. But others weren't buying it. The stories, the lawsuits, the sudden settlements. It was too much to ignore. Former collaborators distanced themselves. Music platforms quietly demoted his catalog. Brands pulled out. And fans? They were left questioning everything they once admired. Even artists he once mentored. Some of them came forward with cryptic messages and subtle jabs, as if they'd seen the signs but stayed silent. The man who once defined the culture now felt erased from it. And in the court of public opinion, one thing became clear. Even legacies aren't immune to accountability. But as the fallout continues, there's one question that still echoes. For all the headlines, all the charges, and all the chaos, so many questions remain. How deep did the alleged network really go? Were others involved? And if so, who's next? What about the settlements? The NDAs? The people who stayed silent for years. Were they afraid, complicit, or just protecting their own? And perhaps the biggest question of all, was this the fall of a man or the unmasking of one? The truth is, Diddy's story isn't finished. Not yet. The trials are still ahead. The testimonies, the evidence, the verdicts, they'll write the next chapters. But one thing's certain, the world will never look at him the same again. Because behind the music, the millions, and the myth was a man surrounded by secrets. And now, those secrets are finally coming to light. Diddy's empire may be crumbling, but what if he's just the first? Rumors are already swirling about other industry giants with secrets just as dark. Who do you think might be next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed because what we're uncovering next might be even bigger.